Welcome back to Atlanta Live. Today's story that will impact almost everyone is that fog rolling into the metro this morning. Our traffic trackers are live on the road, giving us a first-hand look at all of it. But first, Chesley, how long is all of this going to be a problem?
Well, we'll see it at least through the rest of the morning. In fact, our dense fog advisory will last through 9 a.m. It's about 9 or 10 that we'll start to see that fog begin to lift. We'll still be left with the cloudy skies, but we have the problems out there right now. This is the major story as far as the weather goes this morning, that dense fog advisory. We're looking at visibilities down to a quarter of a mile or less in some spots, down to 0 in some spots. So you definitely have to take the necessary precautions like slowing down and putting on those low beams. What does that mean? Well, let's check in with Crash Clark, who has more on how this may be impacting our travel right now.
Well, thanks a lot, Chesley. Yeah, and you say it best. I mean, with that fog out there and it's dense in spots, you put those high beams on, it just shines right back in your face. In fact, commuter dude Jerry Carnes is out and about driving around right now, and I see he's getting ready to head up through Spaghetti Junction, that high upper ramp. I would imagine the fog's going to be a little bit thick out there. Jerry, my question to you is, are you kind of catching a lot of the fog? Is it in spots, and how is it impacting the ride?
Definitely in spots, Crash. As a matter of fact, look at Spaghetti Junction right now. We came through this area about an hour ago, and the visibility was pretty good. Now take a look. It's hard to see the lights in front of you, the cars in front of you. We're about to get on Spaghetti Junction, head north on I-85 right now. Again, an hour ago, visibility good. The fog was all at about the treetop level, and now it has settled down. And watch what happens when we go up on these ramps. I guarantee you we're going to climb right into the thick of this fog. Our photographer David Brooks holding tight to the steering wheel there. You got to really keep in mind the rules here. Those low beams have got to be on. You've got to keep a good distance between you and the car in front of you. Look at how thick it gets as we head up toward Jimmy Carter Boulevard. Again, clear an hour ago, Crash, but this fog has really settled in on the, oh boy, you got to go slow over this the top of this ramp here. So if you're heading down towards Spaghetti Junction right now, folks, be careful, Crash.
Wow, that is an amazing shot, too, there. Jerry Carnes driving around out here for us, giving us these live looks. And, folks, you can see how dense that fog is. That might be a question for Chesley, because I know he talks about the fog lifting. Perhaps some of that is starting to drop down. All right, 75 in great shape, Cobb County. Here's Delk Road. There's Cobb Parkway. Everybody running pretty much the speed limit right now. Not a bad way to start things off. The big three are all in the green, and we'll give you another live look here. There's Georgia 400 at Windward Parkway. All right, Fred McFarland, take them to the 20s.
Yeah, we got some problems. You can't see it on the map here. We can, and you can't see it on the slowing because the problem is outbound on the West Expressway. I-20 westbound just before Lee Road and Lithia Springs. Saw the slowing. Checked with GDOT and found a wreck. This one involves a tractor trailer. 2 other vehicles mixing it up. Police, fire, EMS on the scene. You're slow back to Thornton Road outbound on the West Expressway. Now getting word of a possible second wreck. I-20 westbound before Thornton Road. So be careful. Could be a case of someone following too closely in that limited visibility. With more on the fog and some rain moving in, here's Chesley.
All right, thanks a lot, Fred. Take a look. These visibilities are really reduced in a lot of spots. You can see we're down a mile in Clayton and over toward Blairsville, over toward Canton. When we talk about visibility, good visibility is around 10. You can see we have that up here in the northwest over toward Rome and Dalton, but really reduced. You go from a 10 down to a quarter of a mile in Marietta, also in Atlanta, down through Peachtree City over toward Carrollton. So really dense from Marietta over toward Carrollton, down through Peachtree City, down to a half mile in Thomaston, down to 3/4 of a mile over toward Athens. Talked about the rain as well. We'll have light showers around. That drizzle certainly everywhere, but light rain you can see up here toward Murrayville. All this is heading up toward the northeast, over toward Dahlonega as well. Lula, you do have that light rain. It continues also over toward Sandy Cross and down toward Comer as well. This moving up toward the north about 15 miles per hour. So this little batch here could make it over toward Sandy Cross. Again, you'll see some light rain right around 6:08. 6:08 is when you'll see that. So we'll be dealing with the fog and the drizzle this morning. Early thunderstorms for Wednesday. In fact, late tonight, going into Wednesday morning, thunderstorms will start to erupt, and some of those could pack some gusty winds. We'll detail that for you. Plus, a cooler end of the week. We'll talk about that in a 7-day outlook. That's also coming up as well. Vinny, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Chesley. 5:34. We've got a sketch that we want you to share on Facebook this morning. Police tell us this man forced a woman into her car at gunpoint, then demanded money. Jennifer Bellamy is following the latest this morning. And Jennifer, how was she able to get away?
Vinny, she was able to scare off that suspect by just hollering out to people that were around her, and that worked. Take a look again at this sketch. It's very important. Police want to get information on this person. Now, this all happened Monday when we're told a violent armed robbery forced that woman into her car at gunpoint. He got in the back seat and demanded money. Now, this all happened off Gresham Avenue. The woman called out to people that were nearby, and the suspect then jumped out of the car and took off. So police, again, asking anyone with information, anyone who might recognize someone who might look similar to this sketch, that you contact them, call Crime Stoppers so that they can resolve this case. Vinny?
All right, and everyone can share that sketch from our 11 Alive Facebook page. Thanks so much, Jennifer. All right, Ted Cruz cruises to a big win in Iowa. The state's many Christian conservatives helped propel him ahead of Donald Trump. And within the last hour, NBC News declaring Hillary Clinton the winner on the Democratic side. Clinton holds a very, very small lead, really just a fraction of a lead over Bernie Sanders. Tracy Potts has been following the vote count overnight, and she's live in Des Moines. Tracy, it was a long, long night of counting votes.
No kidding. And before we show you some of the video from that, Vinny, I want to show you this map that's here behind me, a map of Iowa and the results for the Democrats. The red that you see there, that's Hillary Clinton. That lighter color, Bernie Sanders. It was really a nail biter all night. Sanders said when he came out and spoke that it was a tie. But turns out, as of early this morning, maybe an hour or so ago, it was not a tie. The Iowa Democratic Party and now NBC News have declared Hillary Clinton the apparent winner here. The Democratic Party said it was the closest race that they have ever seen in the history of this state. Just 5 delegates at this point separating the two, according to NBC's count. Hillary Clinton, in her victory speech, she actually declared victory before the networks called it, before the party did. She railed against the Republican Party moving into New Hampshire, where she's not in nearly as strong of a position. Now let's talk about the Republicans, because there was an upset. Ted Cruz, who had been very strong in this state, very strong with evangelicals. He'd been holding it until recent weeks when Donald Trump overtook him in the polls. People went into this thinking lots of new people signing up, and we did see that is going to favor Donald Trump. But in the end, it was Ted Cruz who came out on top here. Donald Trump was relegated to second place, not a place where Donald Trump typically likes to be. He gave what for Donald Trump was a very sort of gracious concession speech, saying that he was happy with the results and moving on to New Hampshire and ready to beat Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. Something of note that we found very interesting, Bernie Sanders' name came up over and over. He wasn't the winner eventually, but he performed so well here. His name came up over and over when the Republicans gave their speeches last night. Rubio mentioned him a couple of times. Donald Trump mentioned him. Clearly, he's gaining some traction.
Really an amazing night, and it's just the beginning. Tracy Potts, thanks so much for reporting live for us from Iowa this morning. And, of course, I'll have much more on the Today Show coming up. Now, a hearing will be held today to sort out a controversial plan to put a disc golf course inside a Douglas County nature preserve. The county's already started construction on the 18-hole disc golf course in the Clinton Nature Preserve. That construction now on hold, at least temporarily. When hikers, bikers, and equestrians saw the trees being chopped down, they went to the county for answers, saying the proposed is simply too dangerous.
I hike this every other weekend with my wife and my dogs, and the safety of a disc flying at just 50 to 70 miles an hour is outrageous.
County commissioners tell us the $12,000 project was supposed to be an enhancement for the park. All right, let's get back to our big story this morning, the fog rolling across the metro. Chesley, how bad is visibility right now?
It's down to about a quarter of a mile, even down to 0 in some spots. So you really have to be careful, even though we can show it to you on a map as far as our stations. In between the stations, some of those back roads, some of those back areas, as you were saying when you were driving in, really reduced. And so that fog is very thick. So be careful, folks. Temperatures are starting off on the mild side. As you can see, we're in the 50s just about everywhere you look. 60 is the warm spot over toward Carrollton. As far as your temperatures go today, yesterday we saw a high of 69 degrees. Today, right back there again, near 74 high temperature. That fog should lift around 9 or 10 o'clock. We'll be left with mostly cloudy skies through the afternoon. There'll be some areas of fog, areas of drizzle and light rain through the afternoon, even some breaks in the clouds yielding a little bit of sunshine in some spots as well. 64 degrees by noon, again 70 for our forecast high temperature. We talked about that marginal risk for severe weather. This is for tomorrow, actually. The severe threat exists, a slight risk up into the northwestern corner of the state, and then everywhere else is a marginal risk, and then a general risk east of the city of Atlanta. That'll be late tonight going into tomorrow morning. I think tomorrow morning will be we'll say a tricky ride for a lot of folks with those winds and those the lightning strikes out there. This morning we're dealing with the fog, a little light rain out there. For your evening commute, look for, again, light showers. Temperatures right around 70 degrees. The sun will set around 6:09 p.m. Let's get a check on that traffic now with Crash and Fred. How's it looking, my friends?
All right, thanks a lot, Chesley. Not quite sure if this is fog related or not, but we've got a very serious situation out on the west side. In fact, we've just told Jerry Carnes he's going to go ahead and steer out that way. Let's go ahead and take you out to the West Expressway. This is going to be an outbound wreck, but it's involving a tractor trailer, I-20 westbound just before Lee Road. You see some of the yellow on the map there, down to about 47 miles an hour. This tractor trailer involved with this wreck. Several other cars were involved. Apparently, one car drove underneath the tractor trailer. There is a fuel spill out there as well. And you see some of those brake lights, a little bit of that yellow there just past Lee Road. So this is an outbound wreck. This is folks that are traveling I-20 westbound out on that West Expressway. We'll show you one of the sky trackers. This is I-20 around Fulton Industrial Boulevard, and you can see all that thick fog out there. We've been reporting cars on the right are heading into town. Those other traffic, the other cars heading out towards that wreck. So we'll get you another live look at that. Right now, Fred McFarland's going to talk about that south side.
Yeah, we're still calling it a speed limit ride crash. You can see it's a little under speed, 62 miles an hour from 675 to 285, traveling northbound on 75. We're going to assume that that's because of the fog. There's no wrecks or stalls out there. So hopefully folks are slowing it down just a little bit. 675 is all clear, and 85 over on the west side, not looking too bad as you come up from Coweta County. We'll call that a 6-minute ride, Sonoy Road to I-285. Vinny, over to you.
All right, thanks so much, Fred. A battle royale, thousands of feet in the air. We'll tell you what Delta is saying about two of their flight attendants getting into a fight mid-flight. Plus an international emergency. That's what the World Health Organization is now calling the Zika virus. We've got the details we're learning overnight about steps being taken to try to control this outbreak. And before we head to break, some good news to start your day. It is now safe to eat Chipotle, according to the CDC. So you can go order your burrito bowl without fear of getting E. coli. Good luck. A flight attendant's brawl is getting quite a reaction on our Facebook page. Delta is apologizing for the incident aboard a flight from L.A. to Minneapolis. The pilot was forced to land in Salt Lake City after two flight attendants got into a fist fight over a work-related disagreement. The airline gave passengers a travel voucher for the inconvenience. Wow. Today, we will be following the latest developments in 3 major murder trials. First, in Gwinnett County, where more testimony is expected in the Matthew Liley murder trial. He's accused of murdering his wife, Nikki, back in 2011. Yesterday, the jury heard from a friend who claimed that Matthew threatened to kill Nikki if she tried to leave him. Meanwhile, in Douglas County, jury selection will continue in the trial of a man accused of killing an elderly woman to pay off a debt to a drug dealer. 53-year-old Odes Dupree is charged with robbing and killing 75-year-old Florence Dukes. She was found bound and gagged in her Douglasville apartment last November. And jury selection also continues in Gwinnett County for 3 people charged in a home invasion where a father was murdered and his wife and child were shot. Devon Jenkins, James Stokes, and Pierre Scott were inside the Duluth home during the attack. The mastermind has already been convicted. As you notice, today's top story, right when you walk outside, Chesley, how bad is that fog that's covering the metro right now?
Oh, it's really bad, Vinny. Yeah, we got visibility reduced to a quarter of a mile, down to 0 in some spots. Be careful. Plus, we got some rain to talk about as well, and the possibility for thunderstorms headed our way later on tonight. We'll break it all down for you in the full forecast coming up. Don't go anywhere.
This morning, the World Health Organization has issued an international emergency over the mosquito-borne Zika virus. The WHO met in emergency session calling the spread of the disease an extraordinary event. The emergency session was called to evaluate the outbreak after a number of cases were linked to the birth defect that results in abnormally small heads.
All agree on the urgent need to coordinate international efforts to investigate and understand this relationship better.
The WHO said it could be 6 months to 9 months before the connection is proven or disproven. The group said there could be as many as 4 million cases of Zika in the Americas by next year. In Knoxville, Tennessee, the community is banding together to feed hungry athletes.
Yeah, it starts off kind of sad because they realized that several of their student athletes weren't getting enough food to eat and they couldn't afford to buy food. So 50 companies teamed up to buy and donate peanut butter and other high-protein snacks to feed these kids before practices.
Hopefully, gets us all the way through this semester and can let us provide nutrition for all the athletes and all the kids that look to need to get a little extra food in their system.
And our sister station in Knoxville partnered in this effort to get the food to the kids. Plans are in the works to make it a long-term program.
Very good. Yeah. I mean, you need the fuel to get out there
as
and
teenagers,
perform.
right?
Especially growing kids.
Growing kids that are out there doing. I remember after practice, I'd come home. My mom would have a pound of pasta.
Oh yeah. Makes you perform better.
Yeah.
That's before I had diabetes.
When you could carbo load.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's throw things over to Crash, who's tracking some problems on the roads with all this fog this morning.
Whatever happened to good old macaroni and cheese? Yeah, there's the fog. There's Commuter Dude, and he's driving around in it for you, giving you a live look. This is 85 southbound heading into town. They're going to go all the way out to the West Expressway where we have a very serious tractor-trailer wreck. We'll give you all those details coming up next. Don't go away.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm meteorologist Chesley McNeil. Dense fog advisory in effect until 9 o'clock. It'll be 9 or 10 o'clock before we start to see that fog begin to lift. And visibilities have been reduced in a lot of spots this morning, folks. You definitely need to take the necessary precautions. We're down to a quarter of a mile or less in some spots. Some visibility is down to 0. So you really have to take your time out there on the road. Slow it down. Use your low beams, of course. If you use your high beams, that will shine or reflect right back into your face and makes it even lower or even harder to see. Good visibility would be around 10. We have that in Dalton and Rome. Notice how far down it's reduced close to that. Canton, you're at 1 mile visibility, down to a quarter of a mile in a lot of spots from Marietta over to Carrollton, down through Peachtree City and Atlanta, right in that corridor there. Very thick fog. You're down to a half mile in Athens, down to 1 3/4 miles over toward Gainesville, down to 3/4 of a mile down in LaGrange. We also have to deal with some light drizzle and light rain out there. Light rain mainly up into the north, has moved right on through the city, but we're watching it and tracking it for you. Had a nice little heavier pocket there, now starting to subside just a little bit as it continues to slide up to the north. At about 15 miles per hour, could make it over toward Toccoa right around 6:20 this morning. You'll see some light raindrops if this holds together, at least some drizzle from this as it continues to push further out of the state. Temperatures are running in the 50s, so another mild start for us. We'll be heating up once again this afternoon, close to 70 degrees. Yesterday, we got up to 69. Today, forecasting a high of 70 with a 7 on the wazometer. Mostly cloudy skies. Some areas will see a few breaks in the clouds, get a little bit of sunshine in, but for the most part, you're looking at the clouds in place. Later on tonight is when we're anticipating thunderstorms rolling into the area. Here's how it plays out. Track along with me with the time right here at the top of the screen. Our forecast track model shows the clouds in place. Isolated showers will be around, or at least a chance for the isolated showers will exist through the afternoon. Driving home should be dry for the most part. Mostly cloudy skies, again, few areas of light rain. Then that heavier rain won't get in here until after about 8, 9 o'clock. It'll be very spotty or isolated until that main line comes through, moving into the northwestern corner of the state right around 4 o'clock, and then making its way down toward the metro between 6 and 7. It's in this line where we'll see some very intense rainfall and also some gusty winds, and that will be with us just in time for our morning commute tomorrow. That blows right on through the area. We'll be looking at the rain lasting, the heavy rain lasting at least to about 9 or 10 o'clock before it begins to subside. Certainly by noon, we'll start to see a few breaks in the clouds, finally get some sunshine back in, and then cooler behind that front as temperatures for the rest of the week will only be near 50 degrees right on into the weekend. Let's get a check on that traffic now. Here's Crash and Fred.
All right, thanks a lot, Chesley. Things are getting a little bit worse on the West Expressway. We're getting word now of a second tractor-trailer wreck. Now, we started with the first one out near Lee Road. This was I-20. It's outbound, westbound before Lee Road. 3 cars, a tractor-trailer. There was about a 20-gallon fuel spill. We saw some of the backup, not quite to Thornton Road. This is Thornton Road right here. But now we're hearing about a second wreck. This is going to be I-20, also westbound, just before Thornton Road. Now, we take you further into the city. Not a problem for those of you that are heading eastbound. As a matter of fact, you're looking pretty good. 57 miles an hour all the way to the perimeter and beyond. We can show you some of that eastbound traffic on the right side of your screen. That's I-20. Those folks are all heading into town. Those cars coming at you are heading westbound towards those 2 wrecks. All right, Fred McFarland, take them downtown.
Crash had a report of some debris in the roadway on the connector northbound around Edgewood. Check the Sky Tracker cameras. A little tough to see out there because of the fog, but didn't see anything blocking the road. And right now we're calling it a speed limit ride north and southbound. Our commuter dude, Jerry Carnes, just passed through the downtown connector heading to the wreck on the West Expressway. You can see he's just passing Lowry Boulevard. A little foggy out there, so be careful. We'll have more on that wreck on the West Expressway. Stay with us. We got more Atlanta Live coming up.